Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः नित्यानन्दम् अहं नौमि सर्वानन्दकरं परं हरिनामप्रदं देवम् अवधूतशिरोमणि। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय। श्री नित्यानंद राम की जय। समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you, dear devotees, for very kindly being back for our continuation on the discussions of Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu, who is also an Avadhut. Mhm. There is a very beautiful verse, again worth memorizing. Like yesterday, we had a verse memorization which was Ajanu Lambita Bhujau Kanaka Avadhato. So for today, our verse memorization is something that glorifies Nityananda Prabhu directly. Our acharyas explain Nityanandam aham naumi sarvanandakaram param harinama pradam devam avadhuta shiromani. What does this verse say? Nityanandam aham naumi. I offer my obeisances to Shri Nityananda Prabhu. Sarvanandakaram param. And he is Sarvananda. He is the embodiment of bliss. Naam mein anand hai, Nitya Ananda. He is not just Ananda, but he is Nitya Ananda. Normally, we see in this world, everyone aspires for Ananda. Everyone aspires for happiness, right? No one wants distress. किसी को दुख नहीं चाहिए. No one wants sorrow. But the Ananda that we get in this world is not continuous. It's like a sinusoidal wave, like up and down, right? But Nityananda Prabhu is Nitya Ananda. He is the embodiment of constant happiness, and anyone who worships him also becomes the recipient of constant happiness. So if anyone wants to be happy, then the pathway to eternal happiness and constant happiness is Shri Nityananda Prabhu. And Harinama Pradam Devam, what is he doing? Why is he coming down to this world? Harinama Pradam Devam. He is coming down to distribute Harinam. Ghare Ghare Phule Prem Amiyara Ban. Shri Nityananda Prabhu is such a personality. He broke open the dam of holy name. He went house to house. Ghare Ghare Phule Prem. He went house to house, knocked every door, and asked them to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Asked them to chant the name of Gauranga. Whether they were interested or not, whether they would pelt stones or not, Nityananda Prabhu would go. And his preaching partner was Haridas Thakur. So Nityananda Prabhu is Nityananda, and Haridas Thakur, who is the embodiment of holy name, both of them would go house to preach. Nityananda Maham Naumi, Sarvananda Karam Param, Harinama Pradam Devam, Avadhuta Shiromani. And Shri Nityananda Prabhu is considered an Avadhut. Avadhut is someone who is out of this world. There is no proper description for a Avadhut. Someone who doesn't fit into the brackets of worldly logic. Shri Nityananda Prabhu is just out of the box. जैसे English में बोलते हैं ना, out of the box. So Nityananda Prabhu is like that, Avadhut, out of the box. And Avadhuta Shiromani, of the Avadhuts also, he's Shiromani. He's top class. He's the first. So it's a beautiful verse that we can memorize and offer to Nityananda Prabhu on this Nityānanda Trayodaśī. And even if we don't have it memorized, what we can do is when we go to our temple or when we are in front of our deities, we can have the verse in front of us and then read and chant. Because Gauranga and Nityananda or the Supreme Lord is not behind how much the person has memorized. It's not a memorizing competition. We don't join ISKCON for a memorizing competition. किसको कितना याद है, किसको कितना कंठस्थ है. The Lord is not behind all of that. It is behind, the Supreme Lord is behind how much we can actually offer our heart to Him. And if someone is reading and is able to offer the heart, the Lord will accept that. So let us try to offer these verses to the Lord, which are like garlands, which are like flower petals. The Supreme Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. These verses, every word of these verses, they are like flower. And every time we chant, it's like we are stringing the flower garland of verses and offering it to the Supreme Lord. So yesterday's verse was Ajanu Lampita Bhujau. Today's verse is Nityanandam Aham Nami. And hopefully in our discussion, we may find another verse that we can also memorize. But today we see, as yesterday was Ekadashi, and I think today is Ekadashi in India. But here in the US, today is Varaha Dwadashi. It is the appearance day of Varaha. Yad Romarandra Paripurti Vibhava Daksha Varaha Janmani Babuhara Samudra Tvam Namanata Aravinda Drisham Yashoda Panir Dvayantam Snapayam Babuha. Sripad Bilva Mangala Thakur says, he says, who is Varahadev? Yad Romarandra. Varahadev is that personality when he appeared in this world. His Roma. Roma means hair pore. In our body, we have hair pores. Bilva Mangala Thakur says, what is the size of the hair pore of Varahadev? Yad Roma Randra Paripurti Vibadaksha Varaha Janmani Babu Ramis Samudra. If we take the waters of all the oceans around the universe, if we take the waters of all the oceans around the universe, Bilva Mangala Thakur says, and if we pour them into the hair pore of Varahadev, still the water will not overflow. That is the size of the hair pore of Varaha. If we take all the waters of all the oceans across the universe and we pour that into the hair pore of Varahadev, Bilva Mangala Thakur says it's not an exaggeration. The hair pore is so huge and so gigantic, the water will not overflow. So now you can imagine if that was the size of the hair pore of Varahadev, what was his size? What could have been his size? And what was the size of Hiranyaksha to even fight Varahadev? Right? Even the demons were huge. But now Bilva Mangala Thakur says, now look at the contrast. Yad Roma Randra Paripurti Vibhava Daksha Varaha Janmani Babu Ramis Samudra Tvam Nama Natha Aravinda Drisham Yashoda Panir Dvayantam Snapayam Babua. But that same Varahadev, now he comes as Krishna. Mother Yashoda takes a palmful of water and bathes him. For Varahadev, even the oceans of all the universe was not able to fill the hair pore, but for Lala, for Krishna, for Thakurji, Mother Yashoda takes palmful of water and pours it on his head and tells Krishna, Krishna, your bath is done. And Krishna runs away. Bilva Mangala Thakur says, how can we understand that Krishna, who earlier in Satya came as Varahadev, and for him, what to speak of bath? His hair pore was also not taking a bath with the ocean. But now, as Vrindavan Krishna, Mother Yashoda, Panir Dvayantam, in Pani, in hands, she takes little water and pours it on the head and says, Lala, ho gaya, snan ho gaya, your bath is done. And Krishna happily goes away. Bilva Mangala Thakur says, welcome to the land of Vrindavan. That is our Krishna. For Varahadev and Krishna, look at the contrast. So we offer our respects to that Varahadev. And we very beautifully we see. Actually, I want to share a personal story here that happened late of last year. I was there in a shopping mall. My wife and I were there in a shopping mall here in the US, and we were in one of the aisles to buy dry fruits. And as we were there in one of the aisles, one person came from behind and he tapped my shoulder. And I turned around and he looked at me and said, Prabhuji, ISKCON? Because I was wearing the tilak. So he looked at me and said, Prabhuji, ISKCON? So I said, yes. And I don't know him and he doesn't know me. And this is the first time we are meeting. And that too in a shopping mall in one of the aisles. So he said, Prabhuji, ISKCON? I said, yes, ISKCON. So he said, Prabhuji, I am also ISKCON. I said, wonderful. And we just connected, right? And now normally we see, I mean, for our ISKCON devotees, you don't have to know the person. Tilak Kanti, you almost feel like family, right? You can straight away start a conversation. So we started speaking. And he said, I am from Nepal. So I said, wonderful. And he happened to be the disciple of His Holiness Mahavishnu Maharaj, who travels and does kirtan. So I said, wonderful. And we started speaking. And during the conversation, he said, Prabhuji, I want to give something to the local temple, ISKCON Seattle. Can I give it to you? I said, okay, Prabhuji, you can give it to me. So we exchanged numbers. And then after we checked out from the shopping mall, I went where his car was parked. And then from inside his car, he removed something. So he said, Prabhuji, I want to give you this. This is an offering for ISKCON Seattle. I said, okay. So I removed my shoes so that I can accept. And he gave it in my hand. So I was curious to see what he has given. So I asked him that, Prabhuji, can I, if I have your permission, can I see what is inside? He said, okay. So I opened it. And it happened to be this big of a shaligram. This big and very heavy, very, very heavy. This big of a shaligram. So I was very surprised. And he said, Prabhuji, I come from Nepal. And in Nepal, that's the origin. The Damodar Kund is the origin for Shaligram. So I thought I anyway came here because his daughter lives here in Washington State. So he said, I anyway came here. So I wanted to give this as an offering to ISKCON Seattle. I said, wonderful. Okay, I will go and give it. And I took, and I brought the Shaligram home. And when I brought the Shaligram home, the the one side of my heart told me you should give it to temple, and the other side of the heart told me I think you should keep him. I was in two minds because I didn't really want to give him, but because I had given my word to that devotee, I had to also give it to the local temple. So I called the head pujari and I told him that, Prabhuji, such and such thing happened, and there's one random person, I don't know him, he gave me a shaligram, etc. And the head pujari, which he told me something that happened to be nectar for my ears. He said, Prabhuji, at this time, we already have a lot of deities in our temple and we are short of manpower. So maybe what we can do is you can worship. In the future, if we have more manpower, then you can give it to the temple. But at this point, from the temple, we would offer it as a gift to you. You can worship. I said, wonderful. And my heart anyway was not ready to give it to the temple. And now that I got sanction from the temple management, I accepted and I started worshiping him. And dear devotees, you won't believe, only last week I got to know that that Shaligram is none other than a Varaha Shaligram. He happens to be a Varaha Dev Shaligram. He's this big in size. It's phenomenal how the Lord mysteriously planned something. I don't know that devotee. I have never met him after that. We have never connected. I have his phone number, but we have never connected, never met him. He doesn't stay here. But he ended up giving me a Shaligram, which happens to be a Varaha Shaligram. And the icing on the cake was all this happened on my birthday last year. So it ended up becoming the best birthday gift I ever have received in my life in one of the aisles of a mall called as Costco. It's phenomenal how Krishna uh, plans it out. So the one thing that came to my mind is whenever we go out, if we can have this habit of wearing tilak and kanthi, it is our identity that we are servants of Krishna. And second, you never know, that can help you or that can help someone identify you and end up giving you a gift that you least expected. Hmm. So we wear tilak and kanti not just at home, but as much as possible outside, if we can. Of course, if there are restrictions outside, then we can put water tilak. But if not, We should make this as a habit of wearing tilak and kanthi every single day. So Shri Varahadev Bhagavan ki jai. Today being Varaha Dwadashi, we offer our respects to Varahadev, take his blessings, and then continue on our journey with Nityananda Prabhu, who's now traveling to different places and eventually has met a personality by the name Shripad Madhavendra Puri. That's where we ended our discussion yesterday. We very beautifully we see in the life of Shri Nityananda Prabhu that without the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no one can understand Nitai. And without the mercy of Shri Nityananda Prabhu, no one can understand Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One needs the mercy of Gauranga and Nityananda to understand each other. And if someone has even the slightest doubt in the position or the identity of Nityananda Prabhu, then it's very difficult to understand Gauranga. If you remember yesterday, when Madhavendra Puri was glorifying Nityananda Prabhu, the last line that Madhavendra Puri said was, if anyone has any enviousness towards Nitai, then unka uddhar kabhi nahi ho sakta. They can never get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very interesting that one time there was a Kirtan festival that was held at Jhamatpur at the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, comes from a place called as Jhamatpur in India. And in his house, there was a Kirtan festival and different devotees were invited. It was like a home program, like we do normally home program. Sabko amantrit karta hai. We send invitations to everyone. So similarly, Kaviraj Goswami had a home program. Invitations were sent out. Different people came in. And one such personality who walked into the program was a personality by the name Meenaketan Ramdas. Now, Meenaketan Ramdas, who was invited to that Kirtan program, to that Harikatha program, was a devout follower of Nityananda Prabhu. So much so that he is the disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Prabhu ke shishya hai, and for him Nitai is everything. So he came for the program. And as he was there in the program, Meenaketan Ramdas is little eccentric, spiritually eccentric, very ecstatic personality. He would have a flute in his hand and would jump and dance and would sing. So sometimes the whole scene could be a little foreign for someone who's not as advanced as him. So as Meenaketan Ramdas was chanting and dancing, there were two personalities who were not very appreciative of that for the fact that they did not have respects for Nityananda Prabhu. One was the pujari of that event by the name Gunarnava Mishra. Gunarnava Mishra did not have much respects for Nityananda Prabhu, and because he did not have much respects for Nitai, naturally he did not have respect for the disciple of Nitai, who was Meenaketan Ramdas. But Meenaketan Ramdas did not consider this and he did not take this much seriously because Shastra explains Gunarnava Mishra was a Kanishta Adhikari. So Meenaketan Ramdas did not pay much attention. But another one personality who was not very appreciative of Meenaketan Ramdas because he was not appreciative of Nitai was unexpectedly the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's brother respected Chaitanya Mahaprabhu but did not have respects for Nitai. Can you imagine? The personality who was written Chaitanya Charitamrita, his own brother did not have respects for Nityananda Prabhu. And Meenaketan Ramdas realized, during the program he realized this. And they got into a battle, verbal fight. And it went back and forth. Meenaketan Ramdas would defend Nitai and Kaviraj Goswami's brother would say something and it would just go back and forth. Finally, Meenaketan Ramdas felt so offended that his Nitai was not respected in the program that he stormed out. हमें नहीं रहना ऐसे स्थान पर हमें नहीं रहना जहां नित्यानंद प्रभु को प्रणाम ना किया जाए. Where he is not respected, I don't want to stay in that place. And Meenaketan Ramdas left. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was so furious at his own brother that what kind of brother are you? You respect Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you don't respect Nitai? Shame on you. I don't want a brother like you. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was very angry. And that night, Nityananda Prabhu appeared in the dream of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and instructed him to go to Vrindavan. Tumi jao Vrindavan. Don't stay in this place. Don't stay in the place where I'm not being respected. Oh, Kaviraj Goswami, please pack your bags from Jhamatpur and go to Sri Vrindavan Dham. That's how Kaviraj Goswami, after this incident where Meenaketan Ramdas, the associate of Nitai, was offended, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took it personally and left his own brother to go to the land of Vrindavan so that he can fulfill the desire of Nityananda Prabhu. So the point that Madhavendra Puri is saying is not an exaggeration. There are personalities who have been there who have not been able to understand Nitai because of his spiritually eccentric nature and have criticized him. This is why Shastra explains Nityananda prasade se Gaura Chandra jani Nityananda prasade se Vaishnavera chini Nityananda prasade se Ninda jara shoy Nityananda prasade se Vishnu bhakti hoy. Nityananda prasade, if Nityananda is happy, Gaura Chandra jani. Only if Nitya is happy can anyone understand Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And Nityananda Prasade say Vaishnavera Chini. If Nityananda Prabhu is happy, oh, then the Vaishnavas also shower mercy. Nityananda Prasade say Ninda Jara Kshay. If Nityananda Prabhu is pleased, then the tendency of fault finding, the tendency of criticizing, Jara Kshay, then that will be Kshay. It will be taken away, it will be destroyed. The tendency of fault finding and criticizing others can be taken away by worshipping Nityananda Prabhu and when he blesses. And Nityananda Prasade say Vishnu Bhakti or Krishna Bhakti hoy. And by Nityananda Prabhu's mercy can someone understand Krishna or Vishnu. So it all starts with Nitai. Nityananda Prasade se Gaura Chandra Jani, Nityananda Prasade se Vaishnavera Chini, Nityananda Prasade se Ninda Jarak Shoy, Nityananda Prasade se Vishnu Bhakti Hoy. This is why they time and again say it's not an exaggeration. Heno Nitai Vinay Bhai Radha Krishna Pahite Nai. Without Nityananda Prabhu, it's very difficult to make any progress in bhakti. The pathway, the Bhakti 101 starts with Nityananda Prabhu. Baki sab baad mein. Radha Krishna come later. Everyone comes later. Our bhakti primarily, fundamentally starts with Nitai. And it's not just because it's Nityananda Trayodaśī we are glorifying Nitai. Nah. Even for Gaura Purnima, the concept is going to be the same. Even for Janmashtami, the concept is going to be the same. To get Krishna, to get Radharani, we have to first go through Nitai. And there's no exception. Even for Raghunath Das Goswami, when he first went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu looked at him and said, "You are a cheat. You approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without my permission, you are a cheat." And then the whole Panihatti Chiradai festival unfolded. So even if you're Raghunath Das Goswami, the Prayojanacharya, the pathway to Mahaprabhu is through Nityananda Prabhu. No exception. So Nityananda Prabhu is very, very compassionate. Very compassionate. And his followers are also in that same mood. If you remember yesterday, we were saying that gurus of this world are representations of the mercy aspect. They are the mercy manifestations of Nityananda Prabhu. I'll just share one very beautiful story. In America, there was this one person who was put behind bars. It's a real story. Who was put behind bars. Why? Because he was a racist and he ended up killing two people who are not white. Absolute racist. He ended up killing two people who are not white and he was put behind bars. And because it was such a heinous crime, it was without parole. Arthat bina bail ke. You cannot come out. All your life you have to be inside the jail. And so he was inside the jail as a racist. And somehow, by the kind arrangement of Nityananda Prabhu, he got in contact with ISKCON's prison ministry. You see, I think in India also, in West also it is there. You have ISKCON prison ministry where our devotees send books and they go to prison and they try to preach even to the prison people. Because वो बाहर नहीं आ सकते तो क्या हुआ हम अंदर जाएंगे. It's like almost like Prabhu Jagannath. Devotees cannot go inside. The Lord thinks, okay, if you cannot come inside, I will come outside for you. So the devotees are like that in that mood. If these prison people cannot come outside, तो क्या हुआ हम अंदर जाएंगे. So it's called as the ISKCON prison ministry. So this person who was put behind bars came in contact with ISKCON's prison ministry and got inspired. And after that inspiration, he started chanting. He started chanting 16 rounds. He started reading books and was so inspired that now he was aspiring for initiation, all inside the jail. Now, how do you get initiation inside the jail? You have to be at least outside, right? To even approach your guru, you have to be outside. कहाँ से दीक्षा लेंगे? So inside the jail, he was every day meditating that how I can get initiation. While chanting 16 rounds, this was his meditation. And somehow he got in touch with Sripad Vaisheshika Prabhu from ISKCON of Silicon Valley. And when Vaisheshika Prabhu heard this story, he got in correspondence with this jail person who was there behind bars. And look at Vaisheshika Prabhu's compassion. He flew to Phoenix, Arizona, where this person was put behind bars, met him inside the jail, and initiated him, who was there behind bars, initiated him and gave him the name Balavan Nitai Das. He was there inside the jail and he gave him the name Balavan Nitai. Now he's inside the jail chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, initiated devotee, and he's blissful. He is blissful. So when the other inmates ask him, how are you so blissful? He gives them the Bhagavad Gita. Now he is doing preaching inside. He is doing preaching inside. He gives the Bhagavad Gita and says, you also read the Bhagavad Gita, you will also be happy. This is Guru compassion. This is Nitai's compassion. We said Nityananda Prabhu is compassionate. This is the practical example of someone in this world who is carrying the compassion of Nityananda Prabhu, who is ready to go inside a jail and initiate that person who has had such a horrible past, including crime. This is Nitai. Nityananda Prasade se Gaura Chandra Jani. So we offer time and again our heart, our mind, our respects to Nityananda Prabhu with this hope that, my dear Lord, without you I have no one. आपके बिना मेरे पास और कोई सहारा नहीं है प्रभु. Without you I don't have anyone. I cannot go to anyone because no one will accept me seeing my bhakti. Seeing my sadhana, my dear Lord, no one will accept me. My dear Nitai, you are my only hope. It's not just a philosophical point, it's actually the truth. So, as Nityananda Prabhu traveled from different places, Nityananda Prabhu did not specifically go to Navadvip. Why? Because he was waiting for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to start the Sankirtan movement. He was waiting for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to display his opulence. And Nityananda Prabhu thought to himself, till the time the Lord doesn't do that, I will not go to Navadvip. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started doing that, eventually we see Nitai begins on his journey of going to Navadvip. But it's also interesting, Vrindavan Das Thakur writes, Tara Agyay Bhakti Danera Vilas. Nityananda Prabhu did not even wholeheartedly, not wholeheartedly, but he did not start preaching completely because he had not received the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhakti Danera Vilas. He did not start doing Dan of Bhakti. Why? Because अब तक चैतन्य महाप्रभु का आदेश आया नहीं था. This is a very important instruction, dear devotees, that till the time our superiors don't instruct us, we don't be whimsical. We are not independent. Even Nityananda Prabhu waited for the instruction of his superior, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to start giving bhakti to others. In the path of Krishna consciousness, we are always under a superior. We are never independent. Narottam Das Thakur says this. एकाके आमार नाहि पाए बोल हरिनाम संकीर्तने तुमी कृपा कोरी श्रद्धा बिंदु दिया देह कृष्ण नाम धाने. एकाकी आमार nahi payable. Individually, it's not possible in Kali Yuga. We have to always be under anugatya. In English, there is a very famous saying, and it's quite true, that the first thing a blind man, when he gets his vision back, the first thing a blind man rejects is the stick. When a person is blind, all his life is he uses a stick. But the moment he gets his vision back, the first thing he rejects is the stick. That stick that always gave him company when he did not have vision, now the person has got vision, he develops ingratitude towards that stick and throws the stick away. How is it relevant in our context? In the sense, we see in this world that those people who have inspired us on the path of Krishna consciousness, who have inspired us to chant, who have inspired us to read, who have inspired us to hear. It is like the stick helping us when we were blind. But oftentimes it is seen when the person eventually on the path of bhakti gets all of these and gets initiated, then because he has got a guru, he forgets the people who initially helped him on the path of bhakti. This is like the blind man throwing the stick away when he has got the vision. On the path of bhakti, we always express our gratitude to every single person. They don't have to be necessarily our Diksha Guru. It can be Siksha Gurus. It can be different people who, in the traditional sense, is not our Gurudev, but have taught us something on the path of bhakti. To be ungrateful is the worst quality that a devotee can have. A devotee should always be grateful to every single devotee, every single circumstance, and to the Supreme Lord that, my dear Lord, you sent this devotee because of whom I got you in my life. Because of that devotee, I got my Gurudev in my life. Because of that devotee, I got Vrindavan Dham. Every day we should be grateful. Doesn't mean we have to vocalize it, but in our heart, we should be grateful to all our Siksha Gurus who helped us get to our Diksha Guru. Hmm. So Nityananda Prabhu is saying that without the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tara Agya Bhakti Danera Vilas, without his Agya, I will not do Bhakti Dan. I will not spread Bhakti to others. So eventually, when Mahaprabhu started the Sankirtan movement, Nityananda Prabhu decided now to go to Navadvip. And Nityananda Prabhu went to the house of a personality by the name Nandan Acharya. Nandan Acharya was a resident of Navadvip. And Nitai went to his house and stayed in his house. And that night, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a dream. And in the dream, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he very beautifully saw that there is a very effulgent personality who's sitting on a chariot, who's entering Navadvip with a white flag on top, with a yellow chadar on his body, with yellow dhoti, with a plow to his shoulder, with ekakundala, with one earring. He's entering the land of Navadvip. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with this dream, got up and he told us all his associates that I saw such a dream. I feel there is some very exalted personality who has come to Navadvip. My dear Haridas, my dear Srivas, can you please go around and get that personality? Can you see where that personality has come? And Haridas Thakur and Srivas went searching based on the description that they got from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They went around searching and they searched for 9 hours. And they came back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, my dear Lord, based on the description that we got, I'm sorry, we did not find any such personality. We searched everywhere. We searched in the kutir of sannyasis. We searched in the houses of grahasthas. We searched in the houses of jnanis. My dear Lord, we even searched in the houses of atheists. हमें नहीं मिला. We did not get anyone based on your description. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started smiling and he held the hand of Srivas and he held the hand of Haridas and with all his associates, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, come with me. And Mahaprabhu took. And Mahaprabhu's Paramatma, he knows where that exalted personality is there. Mahaprabhu took all of them straight to the house of Nandanacharya. When they went to the house of Nandanacharya, they entered the door and on a jeweled seat was this effulgent personality sitting. Nitai pada kamala, koti chandra sushitala. Nitai pada kamala, koti chandra sushitala. He was radiating like thousands of moons. Not just his face, his feet. Nitai pada kamala. Vrindavan Das Thakur writes, Nityananda Prabhu was so effulgent. I almost spilled the beans. The personality sitting there was Nityananda Prabhu. Vrindavan Das Thakur writes that Nitai was so effulgent, even the moon god was ashamed that I thought I radiate. I thought I give effulgence, but who is this personality who is million times more effulgent than me? Thinking in this way, Nityananda Prabhu The moon god was trying to cover his face in shame. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and looked at this very effulgent personality, that is Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu, with yellow garments, yellow chadar, hmm, his earring, and very beautifully sitting on that jewel throne, nice sandalwood on the forehead, nice garland that goes up to the knees. Very, very beautiful description that Vrindavan Das Thakur gives. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vishwambar, walked in, Nityananda Prabhu realized that his Lord has come. Nityananda Prabhu got up, and in one spur of a second, Nityananda Prabhu went and embraced Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu equally embraced Nityananda Prabhu. And dear devotees, this was the first meeting of Gauranga and Nityananda in Kali Yuga in the house of Nandanacharya. पहली बार जब गौरांग और नित्यानंद प्रभु मिले, वृंदावन दास ठाकुर explains, was at the house of Nandanacharya, and tears were just flowing from the eyes of Nitai. And likewise, tears were flowing from the eyes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and realized, Amar Krishna, he is my Krishna. Gopavesh, Venukar, Nata Kishore, Natavar, he is my Shamasundar. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at Nitai and said, Amar Balaram, he is my Balaram, he is my Baladev. And both of them almost went in the mood of the land of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And seeing each other as Gopas, they were remembering their Vrindavan pastimes. And the associates were perplexed. What's happening? I mean, why are they crying? And who is this personality? At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood that Nityananda Prabhu is in the mood of Sri Vrindavan Dham, and it is time to now stimulate his mood, to add more ghee, let's say. You add a ghee more to fire, it just expands, it explodes. Nityananda Prabhu's heart was now like a fire burning in separation from Vrindavan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at Srivas, almost indicating just through his glance that please chant a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam that will invoke the Vrindavan remembrance in the heart of Nityananda Prabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction, Srivas chanted the historic verse from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 21, text 5, the Venu Geet. बर्हापीडं नटवरवपु कर्णयो कर्णिकारं बिभ्रद्वासनकनककपिशं वैजयन्तीं च मालां रन्ध्रान् वेणुरधरसुदयान् पूरयन् गोपवृन्दै वृन्दारण्यं स्वपदरमणं प्राविशद्गीतकीर्ति. Another verse memorization. This is Canto 10, chapter 21, text 5. This describes the beauty of Krishna. Barha Pidam. How Krishna has a crown of peacock feathers. Natavaravapu. He is the best among dancers. Karna Yoho Karnikaram. He has a nice Karnikara flower in his ear. Bhibradvasa Kanaka Kapisham. His garments are like lightning. They're yellow in complexion and they're almost like lightning. Vaijayantim Chamalam, and he has a beautiful Vaijayanti Mala. Vaijayanti Mala is made from forest flowers. When five forest flowers come together, it forms Vaijayanti Mala. Mandara Kunda Parijata Kamala Tulasi. When these five flowers come together, only that garland is called Vaijayanti Mala. Mandara, Kunda, Parijata, Kamala, and Tulasi. And Krishna flaunts that in Vrindavan. Actually, my Guru Maharaj was saying the garland is called as Vai Jayanti Mala. Vai Jayanti means victory. Jayanti means victory. Vai Jayanti Vishesha Rupena means special victory. So Krishna is wearing the Vai Jayanti Mala. It's like an award. It's like Krishna is flaunting a trophy. But what Jayanti, what victory has Krishna achieved? It is not the garland of Krishna showcasing that he has killed Agasur, Bakasur, Shakatasur, Vatsasur, etc. That is not what the garland is all about. My Guru Maharaj was saying Krishna wears the Vaijayanti Mala to show to the world that how he has been victorious over the hearts of the Vrajagopis. How he has been victorious over the hearts of the Brajavasis. That is Vaijayanti Mala in the real sense. To show to the world that he has been victorious over the hearts of his friends. Maya Yashoda, and of course the gopis of Vrindavan. Randhran Venur, Krishna plays the flute, and Krishna's fingers are almost like the actors who are dancing on the stage. The flute. They're nicely dancing from one end to another end. Randhran Venur, Adhara Sudayan, Apurayan Gopa Vrindai, Vrindaranyam Swapada Ramanam Pravishad Gita Kirti. With this description, Krishna, like a swaggering elephant, is entering inside the land of Vrindavan Dham with nice beads of perspiration, with nice beads of Braj Dhuli, Braj dust on top of his forehead. Sripad Bilvamangala Thakur explains that this description of Krishna, the gopis of Vrindavan, they wait when Krishna will come back to Vrindavan in the evening. In the evening time, Bilvamangala Thakur says, the gopis of Vrindavan, they are there on their terrace, rooftop, and they are waiting when Krishna will enter Vrindavan. And how do they get to that Krishna is entering Vrindavan? From all the Godhuli, the 9,99,999 cows that are there, when all of them are walking with four legs and all of them are making sound, and all the Brajara is there in the air, the Braja Gopis understand it's time that Krishna is about to come back to Vrindavan. And it's such a beautiful scene. Bilvamangala Thakur describes that the gopis are waiting, like Chatak Pakshis, they're waiting to see the form of Krishna. And as the Godhuli settles, Krishna's beautiful form emerges from that. As the Godhuli settles, Krishna, like a swaggering elephant, in between these cows, emerges to give pleasure to the heart of the Brajavasis. So, Srivas Thakur chanted this verse of Baraha Pidam. And now you can imagine Nitai was already in the mood of Balaram. It just stimulated his heart. And he became so ecstatic that he started jumping and dancing and loudly screaming and chanting the Maha Mantra because he was now in the mood of Balaram completely. And he was seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not different from Krishna. Actually, this verse of Barhapidam is also interesting for the fact that Shukadev Goswami did not want to come out of the womb of his mother. He was there in the womb for many, many years. And finally, his father had to convince him to come out. And Shukadev Goswami said, no, no, I will not come out. Why? Because outside world is filled with Maya. I don't want to come. Who is saying Shukadev Goswami? You can imagine if so many hundreds and thousands of years ago, if Shukadev Goswami is saying that the world is filled with Maya, what would Shukadev Goswami had said if he was there in the present day? With all the gadgets and phones and Instagram and Snapchat, Shukadev Goswami would have never come out. So he told his father there's a lot of Maya. So, but eventually, Krishna appeared in the womb and he told Shukadev Goswami, don't worry. If there is Maya outside, I am Mayadhi. Maya is under me. Don't worry, I will protect you. And taking the direction of Krishna, Shukadev Goswami comes out. But once he comes out, he is indifferent to his father. He doesn't stay. Straight away goes inside the forest. हमें नहीं रहना यहाँ. हम वन में जाएंगे, वन में भजन करेंगे इत्यादि. I don't want to stay here. So eventually, his father Vyasadev, he calls two of his disciples and gives them two verses and tells them that you go to the forest and scream as loudly as possible. These two verses. So the disciples say, okay. The first disciple goes and he screams the verse of Baraha Pidam Natavara Vapu. Loudly calls. And Shukadev Goswami, he understands Sanskrit. He doesn't require a Bhaktivedanta purport. So he understands, just by hearing the verse, he understands chal kya raha hai. So Baraha Pidam Natavara Vapu, he understands the beauty of Krishna has been described, the external beauty. But then Shukadev Goswami thinks to himself, well, there are so many people in this world who are externally beautiful. So what? I will accept the person who is externally and internally also beautiful. And when he thought this way, the second disciple chanted the second verse. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jingam sayapaya yadabhyasadvi lebe gatim dhatrimuchitam tathonyam kamva dayalum sharanam vrajema. It describes the pastime of how Krishna delivered Putana. How Krishna was ready to uplift someone who came with the intention of killing him. How she came with the intention of murdering him. Shukadev Goswami thought to himself, who is this personality? He is externally beautiful, but now I see he's also internally beautiful because just at the age of 6 days old, he is ready to uplift and liberate someone who came in the disguise of a mother to kill him, to murder him. This person has to be internally and externally beautiful. Hearing these two verses, Shukadev Goswami leaves the forest and then comes outside and ends up speaking the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So this Barahapidam verse is worth memorizing because one, it broke the meditation of Shukadev Goswami, and second, this verse was the catalyst that brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu together for the very first time in Kali Yuga at the house of Nandanacharya. Vrindavan Das Thakur writes, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were staying, one time Sri Nityananda Prabhu was staying at the house of Srivas. This was after a few days. Nityananda Prabhu was staying at the house of Srivas. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to meet Srivas. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to play a prank on Srivas. He decided to test. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a very interesting person. He is Bhagavan, but he will test his own devotee. And the Lord gets happiness out of it. He goes to Srivas and says, my dear Srivas, I think you are being overly magnanimous. Srivas said, what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are keeping this mendicant in your house for so many days. We don't even know where he's coming from. We don't even know what his position is. We don't even know where he stands in bhakti. You are keeping him for so many days. I think you are being overly magnanimous. You should ask him to leave. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sarcastically telling Srivas to tell Nityananda Prabhu to leave. Hmm? Now, is this reality? No. Mahaprabhu knows Nita is Balaramji. But he's testing Srivas to understand हम भी देखते हैं आपने कितना निताय को पहचाना है. I let me also see how much you have actually understood Nityananda Prabhu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this to Nitai, Nityananda Prabhu says, my dear Lord, I beg to differ. आप होंगे भगवान. You may be Lord, but I beg to differ. Nityananda Prabhu is not different from Balaramji. Srivas is saying. And Nitai is not different from you. I know you and Nitai are one and the same personality. There's no difference. Just like Krishna and Balram are one and the same personality. There's no difference. And then Srivas says something. I remember when I read this for the first time, I was blown away. Srivas says that, my dear Lord, if tomorrow Nityananda Prabhu holds a pot of wine in his hand, or if Nityananda Prabhu ends up marrying even a Muslim woman, two cases. Srivas says, my dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tomorrow, kal jaake, if Nityananda Prabhu holds a pot of wine, or if he marries even a Muslim woman out of the caste, Srivas says, my dear Lord, still the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu is worshipable for me. Still, I will not move an inch from the lotus feet of Nitai. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he embraced Srivas Thakur. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was almost in the mood of Narsinghadev. He climbed onto the chest of Srivas, and Srivas was already like a skinny grahastha, let's say. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes get so ecstatic in the mood of Narsinghadev. He climbed onto the chest of Srivas and said, my dear Srivas, you have actually understood Nityananda Prabhu, and you have actually become the recipient of Nitai. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a benediction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my dear Srivas, on this day I give you this benediction that even if Lakshmi Devi has to be on the street as a beggar, still your house will never be inflicted with poverty. Hey Srivas, I give you this benediction. It's a very big statement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if even if Lakshmi Devi tomorrow has to be on the street as a beggar, वो भी शायद हो जाएगा. लेकिन your house will never be inflicted with poverty. I give you this benediction. Why? Because you have actually understood Nityananda Prabhu. So, dear devotees, it's again the same point. Anyone who understands Nityananda Prabhu, anyone who becomes a recipient of Nitai will surely get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And anyone who doesn't respect Nitai will not get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Leave alone Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna is far-fetched. Even to get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one has to get Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this benediction. Another time, very beautifully explained that our Śrī Nityananda Prabhu would go to the house of Nimai, would go to the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as he would go to the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would, in a very funny way, he would go and touch the feet of Sachi Mata. And Sachi Mata would go back, and Nitai would again touch. And in this way, Nityananda Prabhu, in a mood of transcendentally troubling Sachi Mata, would go around. Even when she was there in the kitchen and cooking, Nitai would say, "Nahi, nahi, pair chuna hai, pair chuna hai, pair chuna hai." Nitai was like a small child. He would go and try to touch, and Sachi Mata would say, "No, you've already done it." And they would just keep running around in the house because Nitai was in a childlike mood, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, to touch and get the blessings of the lotus feet of Sachi Mata. And it's interesting for the fact that Nityananda Prabhu already knows the history as to how Advaita Acharya committed some offense to the lotus feet of Sachi Mata. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took it so seriously that Advaita Acharya had to ask forgiveness unto the lotus feet of Sachi Mata in order to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, who's Advaita Acharya? Nitai's god brother, as we said yesterday. So, from the god brothers, he has heard the story of the glories of the lotus feet of Sachi Mata. And now, Nityananda Prabhu is forcefully going and trying to hold the feet of Sachi Mata and saying, "Nahi, Ashirvad chahiye, Ashirvad chahiye." And Sachi Mata is running around in the house. So, Nitai sometimes in the mood of Balaram would have this childlike mentality. One time, Vrindavan Das Thakur explains, Sachi Mata got up and she called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, "My dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I saw a dream." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "What is the dream?" She said, "I saw this dream that you and Nitai are 5-year-old boys. आप दोनों 5 साल के बच्चे हम स्वप्न में देखे that you and Nitai are 5-year-old boys and you're entering inside the temple room and you're coming outside with the deities of Krishna and Balaram." So in the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Vrindavan Das Thakur here explains, there were the deities of Krishna and Balaram that Sachi Mata was worshipping. So Sachi Mata says, "I saw this dream where both of y'all, as 5-year-old boys, y'all went inside and y'all came out, and Nitai had Krishna in his hand, and you, that is, O Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you had Balram in your hand." And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is hearing this story, and he says, "Acha, then what happened after that?" And Sachi Mata says, "All 4 of y'all were quarreling with each other. All 4 of y'all were fighting with each other. सब झगड़ा कर रहे थे." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Why? What happened?" Sachi Mata said, "All 4 of y'all are fighting because Krishna and Balram were telling y'all that who are you two people? All the offerings that are done to us, both of y'all are eating. कौन है आप दो लोग? कहाँ से आए हैं? All the yogurt, sandesh, kheer that we were getting, now both of y'all 5-year-old boys, y'all are taking. आप है कौन?" And Nitai to that, mind you, all of this is in the dream, okay? And Nitai to that, he says, "Krishna, Balaram, who are y'all? आपका जमाना गया. Y'all were Dwapar Yuga. This is Kali Yuga. That was the time of cowherd people. This is the time of Brahmanas. We are Brahmanas, you are cowherd people. आपका time गया. आप जाओ यहाँ से. You all go." Nitai is telling all this to Balaram. Then we are Brahmanas. Now we will enjoy the kheer. We will enjoy the sandesh. We will enjoy the yogurt. Your time was Dwapar. You go. This is Kali Yuga. And Balram says, "Do you know whom you're telling this to? I have Krishna by my side. You know how powerful Krishna is?" And when Nityananda Prabhu hears this, Nityananda Prabhu says, "Acha, do you know who I am? And do you know who I have by my side? If you have Krishna, I have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by my side." And all the Sachimata is seeing in the dream and telling this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Prabhu is saying, "Don't you forget that I have Gauranga in my team. You may have Krishna, but I have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is Kali Yuga. So it is our Yuga. We already have that added advantage over you. And we are Brahmanas. So the society will also support us. The age is also suitable for us. Krishna and Balram, आप चले जाइए. And you all go. It is not your age. And when Sachi Mata narrated this to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started laughing and said, "My dear Sachi Mata, my dear mother, it is now certified that Krishna and Balram are actually present here in the deity form and accepting your offerings." Actually, the Lord is always there. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through this instance, puts this seed of faith in the heart of Sachi Mata by telling her that Krishna and Balram are actually there. They are actually present. So, in this way, we see the Lord is actually always present. He's always ready to reciprocate to the calling of the devotees. It's only that we have to turn our face to the Lord. In the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, there is this story of a prostitute by the name Pingala. And the story goes something, of course, we don't have time, but I will just, in a very short form. The story goes such that this lady Pingala was a prostitute. Every day, different people would come to her. And eventually, there came a day when she was waiting on the street and she was hoping that someone would come, and no one came. And the night passed by, and she was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and no one came. And she was all night she was waiting this when she was thinking to herself that how was it that every time people would come, and now just that I have grown a bit older in age, there's no one who's coming, and there's no one who's able to provide me the wealth in which I would make my living. Bhagavatam explains in that time she had the seed of realization. Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Canto 11, Chapter 8, Text 31. Santam Samipe Ramanam Ratipradam Vittapradam Nitta Imam Vihaya Akamadam Dukkha Bhayadi Shokha Moha Pradam Tuchha Aham Bhajegya. Srimad Bhagavatam explains Pingala at that time was thinking to herself, Santam Samipe, there is one person who's Samipa. Samipa means near. There's one person who's always near my heart. Santam Samipe. And what are his qualities? Ramanam Rati Pradam. He's Ramanam. He's beloved. He's very dear. Radha Raman. He's very beloved. He's Ramanam. And Rati Pradam. He's providing love. Vitta Pradam. He's always providing prosperity. Nitya. He's always doing this. If anyone is getting anything in this world, it is the Supreme Lord who's providing, as we said yesterday also. Pingala gets this realization that that Supreme Lord, who's there so close to my heart, who's so dear to me, who's a beloved, who's Ramanam, who provides Rati, who provides Vittam, and he does that Nityam. It's all rhyming. He provides Vittam and it does that Nityam. But such a personality, I have given up in my life. मेरे हृदय के इतने निजी है, इतने निकट है, हम फिर भी उन्हें त्याग दिए और ऐसे व्यक्तियों का सेवन किए. I started worshipping such people, such materialistic people in my life. What did they give me? Santam Samipe Ramanam Rati Pradam Vitta Pradam Nitya Imam Vihaya Akamadam Dukha. They gave me Dukha. Akamadam Dukha, Shokha, lamentation, Bhaya, fear, Moha, illusion. Tuchha Aham Bhajegya. My dear Lord, how foolish I was. Instead of worshipping you, who is so beloved and dear and so near to my heart, I ended up worshipping and bootlicking those people who only gave me sorrow, who only gave me distress, who only gave me lamentation, who only gave me fear, who only gave all these anxieties. My dear Lord, हमसे मूर्ख और कोई नहीं है. There is no one more foolish than me, but my dear Lord, now that I have realized, I fall at your feet. Please accept me. Sometimes the person who is the nearest can be the farthest if the person has not realized Krishna consciousness. Bhagavan is very near in our heart, but that is only if the person has realized it. And Pingala here in this case, eventually, जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना ठोकर खा के, ठोकर खाने के बाद पता चला कि अरे भगवान तो इतने निजी है, इतने समीप है. And then she started worshipping the Supreme Lord. So Krishna is always there in the heart to reciprocate. And finally, before we end our discussion, another instance where Nityananda Prabhu decided to come to the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seated on a throne. And when Nityananda Prabhu came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and asked Nityananda Prabhu to sit. Personally, with his own hands, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu applied sandalwood paste, chandan, on the forehead, offered him a garland, washed his lotus feet. And Nityananda Prabhu, hmm, when he was sitting royally in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started offering prayers in the glorification of Nityananda Prabhu. These are again set of verses that are very beautiful and very sweet and worthy to be memorized. When Nityananda Prabhu was sitting on that throne, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is offering these verses. So you can imagine the potency of these verses. Mahaprabhu is offering these verses to Nitai. And what does Mahaprabhu say? नामे नित्यानंद तुमी रूप नित्यानंद ए तुमी नित्यानंद राम मूर्ति मंत नित्यानंद पर्यटन भोजन व्यवहार नित्यानंद बिने किछु नाही का तोमार তোমারে ভুজিতে শক্তি মনুষ্যের কোথা परमसु सत्य तुमी यथा Krishna tatha. These are very beautiful set of verses, dear devotees. Again, we can memorize and remember in our mind that Gauranga Mahaprabhu chanted this for Nitai. Name Nityananda Tumi Rupa Nityananda. What is Mahaprabhu saying? Your name is Nityananda and your Roop is also Nitya Ananda. Ei Tumi Nityananda, Rama Murti Manta. And not just your name, not just your form, but you are Rama Murti Manta. You are the Murti manifestation. You are the deity form of Ram. Here, Ram refers to Balaram. Rama Murti Manta. You are the mercy and the Murti manifestation of Balaramji. Nityananda Paryatana Bhojana Vyavhar. Nityananda Bine Kichu Naika Tomar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nityananda Paryatana, you wander in the holy places. And Bhojana Vyavhar. My dear Nitai, your pastimes of honoring Prasadam are unparalleled, which is true. Of course, we don't have time today, but Nitai's pastimes of honoring Prasad are crazy, spiritually eccentric personality. तुम्हारे भुजित शक्ति मनुष्य कोथा परम सुसत्य तुम्हें यथा कृष्ण तथा Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, who has the power to understand you? Which manushya has the power to understand you? Parama susatya tumi yatha Krishna tatha. You are Parama susatya. You are the eternal absolute truth. Yatha Krishna tatha. And hey Nita, you are actually not different from Krishna. Who is saying? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying. So dear devotees, let us um, take this as a um, homework and as a resolution to memorize these verses. Because the verses that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composes or the verses that Vrindavan Das Thakur composes, they are fault free. There are no faults in it. There is no dosha. When we try to compose something, there may be dosha. But when these personalities compose, and especially the Supreme Lord, there is no dosha. It is fault free. It is completely pure and clear and sacred. So we should memorize these verses and chant in front of Nityananda Prabhu. Chant during the day of Nityananda Trayodaśī. And not just Nityananda Trayodaśī. Every time we see Gauranga and Nityananda in our local temple or our home deities, Phat se we can chant. Nityananda Maham Navami Sarvananda Karam Param Harinama Pradam Devam Avaduta Shiromani. Nityananda Tumi Rupa Nityananda. Mur Rama Murti Manta. We can memorize these verses and we can chant as an offering to the Supreme Lord. But here in this section, we see that after chanting these verses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he looks at Nitai and says, my dear Nitai, I have a request. And my request is, can I get one of your used kopins as Mahaprasad? And Nityananda Prabhu says, okay. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts the kopin of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepting the kopin, he tears the kopin in into different pieces and offers it to all his associates and instructs all his associates to accept the kopin of Nita and tie it on their head. and to tie it on their head. So all the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the kopin Mahaprasad of Nityananda Prabhu and put it on their head. Actually, Shastras explain, and I heard this one time in a room conversation from Mahendra Prabhu. Mahendra Prabhu was saying that if someone worships the kopin of a very exalted sadhu, the lust in the heart can be dissipated right away. The lust can be completely taken away if someone worships the kopin of a very high class sadhu. Actually, many years ago, I was uh, lucky enough, let's say, there was one devotee in the UK who ended up shipping from London to the US for my brother and I. He shipped the kopin of Aindra Prabhu. So I have it with me, the kopin that Aindra Prabhu used. And Shastra normally explains if someone worships the kopin of a very, very advanced sadhu, the lust in the heart can be dissipated. And it is Shastric, it's not a sectarian point. Why? Because Mahaprabhu here in this section is worshipping the kopin of Nityananda Prabhu, and all the associates are taking the kopin and tying it on their head. What is the praman? We see here, this is the last section, and then we will end. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, प्रभु बोले ए वस्त्र वंदना शीरे अन्येर की दया इह वांछा योगेश्वरे. Prabhu bole ei vastra. Mahaprabhu saying this vastra, that is kopin, vandana shire, offer to your head and tie it on your head. Annera ki daya ichha vancha yogeshware. What to speak of the Vaishnavas? Even the masters of mystic perfection desire a piece of the kopin of Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu is saying, Nityananda prasade se hai Vishnu bhakti. Janiha Krishnera Nityananda Purna Shakti. Sarva Jiva Janaka Rakshaka Sarva Mitra. Ihana Vyavhara Sarva Krishna Charitra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in essence is saying, Lord Chaitanya said to all the Vaishnavas, all of you tie the piece of cloth around your head. What to speak of Vaishnavas? Even masters of mystic perfection desire the peace of Kopin. One can attain devotional service to Lord Vishnu only by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Know that Nityananda Prabhu possesses the complete potency of the Supreme Lord. There is no one dearer to Krishna than Nityananda Prabhu. He eternally serves Krishna as a companion, bed, ornament, associate, and a brother. The qualities of Nityananda Prabhu are incomprehensible even to the Vedas. He is the father, protector, and friend to all the living entities. His dealings are full of transcendental mellows of love for Krishna. And now comes the last. Please hear this very carefully. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ihana vyavhara sava Krishna rasamai. Ihana se vile Krishna prema bhakti hai. Bhakti kare ihana ka vancha. Bhakti kare ihana kai gira vancha shire. Mahayatra iha puja karha giya ghare. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, please hear this. Mahaprabhu says, if one serves Nityananda, he will attain devotional service to Krishna without doubt. All of you should tie this piece of Nityananda's kopin around your head with devotion. You should worship this piece of cloth, that is the kopin, in your homes with great love and great respect. Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu ki jai. Śrī Nityananda Prabhu's kopin ki jai. In this way, we see Vrindavan Das Thakur. He gives this pastime of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted even the kopin as the Mahaprasad of Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu. Having said this, we very humbly want to stop here, only so that we can again meet tomorrow for our last day of discussions of Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Śrī Nityānanda Prabhu ki jai. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.